Oh, here it comes. Yeah.
What's the matter? Oh, I'm making sure my name. John, that's yours. Oh, Jillian. Jillian, of course. All right. Council, please come to order. Would everyone please stand? We'll be led in prayer by Alderman Darrell Wilson.
Almighty God, we ask for your blessing upon this members of this council as we assemble here in this chamber to conduct the ongoing business of our city. With your guidance, we will strive to ensure that all our decisions are for the common good, and your inspiration will instill respect, compassion, and thoughtfulness in all our deliberations. Give us the strength and wisdom to lead by example as the people's representative, and that peace and harmony will mark all our proceedings and keep us faithful to the trust placed in us by the citizens of our community. Amen.
Amen. Alderwoman Stacey Gould, please.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm sorry, I jumped the gun on you.
Good evening, everyone. Prior to beginning, we have some housekeeping matters to attend to. I would ask for a motion for suspension of our rules to add 2 items to this agenda this evening. Is there a motion to suspend our rules? Alderwoman Gould, second by Alderman Wilson. Is there discussion on the motion of suspension? Seeing none. Roll call, please.
Alderman DeLucia?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson? Yes. Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
That's 7-0.
Thank you. At this time, may I have a motion to add to the agenda a proclamation concerning Haitian Flag Day? Alderman Wilson, second Alderman Nash. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll, please.
Alderman DeLucia?
Yes.
Alderman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
That's 7-0.
Motion passes 7-0 to add the proclamation. At this time, may I have a motion, please, to add a resolution in regards to the stadium lease at Dodge Stadium? I have such a motion. Alderwoman Gould, second Alderman Nash. Is there discussion? Seeing none, vote, please.
Alderman DeLucia?
Where on our agenda is this going to be placed?
It would be item number 4, and thank you, Joe.
Yes.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
That's 7-0.
Thank you. The motion passes 7-0. May I have a motion to please return to our agenda as amended? Alderman Wilson, second Alderwoman Gould.
Alderman DeLucia?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
That's 7-0.
Motion passes 7-0. So in keeping with that addition, at this time I will introduce and read this proclamation in regard of Haitian Flag Day. Whereas May 18th has been celebrated as Haitian Flag Day for generations, commemorating the flag's creation in 1803 by Jean-Jacques Dessalines at the Congress of Achaia, and recognizing the history, culture, and heritage of the Haitian people as they created their nation through a struggle for freedom that resonated across the globe and inspired independent movements in Latin America, Asia, and Africa. And whereas the coat of arms depicts a trophy of weapons atop a green hill and royal palms symbolizing independence. And whereas the motto, El Union Fiat La Force, means unity makes strength, depicts the vast amount of pride and dignity each Haitian has in their culture, community, and history. And whereas Norwich is home to a large Haitian community, which is an integral part of the fabric of the Rose City and contributes immeasurably to the entire city's rich and unique diversity. And whereas residents of Norwich are encouraged to learn and honor the Haitian community, its history, culture, traditions, and its roles and contributions to the city of Norwich. Now therefore, I, Mayor Peter Albert Nystrom, and Norwich City Council President Pro Tem Mark Betancourt, on behalf of the Norwich City Council and the citizens of the city of Norwich, so hereby proclaim May 18th Haitian Flag Day in the city of Norwich, and we encourage all citizens to observe with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities dated this 18th day of May 2021, signed by myself and President Pro Tem Mark Betancourt. And just a footnote, there will be a Haitian flag raising program. However, it will not take place tomorrow, and we will get that date out to the general public so that if someone wanted to attend, you're certainly welcome. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to declare that citizen comment general is open. And we do have a sign-up list. The person that did sign up is Samuel Browning. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. I know I have 3 minutes. I'll be brief. I know you're considering a lease tonight. I haven't read it, but I'm asking you to consider not dragging the stadium issue on any longer. We've had 3 teams since the stadium was created. We keep losing them. The last 2 have had serious financial troubles. The Connecticut Defenders left in 2009 because they weren't making enough money. I had an aunt from one of the managers that that the current team, the Connecticut Tigers, was not breaking even as of before the COVID issue came up. And that's also shown by the fact they were perpetually behind on their lease payments. I hope that they're square, but I do not know what the current status is. But the issue is that we've gone from AA, short season single A, and now we're going down to an unpaid future collegiate baseball league. The original theory behind having baseball in Norwich was we were going to get thousands of people in each game. They were going to spend money. They were going to promote economic development. In New Britain, which has a population 1/3 larger than we're 40,000, they're about 60,000. They're about 500 people or less a game. Their stadium authority is getting 18,000 people a year. There's no way under the current system that you are going to be able to run the Dodge Stadium on a break-even, at even break-even. You're going to lose money. You don't know how much you're going to lose yet, but you will lose money. I know that you'll say, okay, but we'll do all these events. They haven't previously happened in the last 25 years enough to make a difference, and part of the reason why is they're in a tough market. They're competing against the Guard, they're competing against Mohegan Sun, they're competing against Foxwoods for big acts. You can use that stadium for free activities all you want, but the bottom line is not going to change. You just simply do not know how much money it will cost you yet. My suggestion is this would be a great time to just say, okay, after this year, we're going to sell the land, try to get a tax-paying business in our business park. I mean, this is one of the few places where you can enlarge our business footprint, and you're not going to have NIMBY. It's already zoned as a business park. Make the decision now, as versus 4 or 5 years from now, when you're going to end up going to the Norwich taxpayers and say, well, we lost more money than we thought, but gee, a lot of people had fun. That's not an economic development strategy. Change is scary. I know that you're also going to get someone who's going to complain and say, well, my kids weren't able to use that stadium for free. That's not a good rationale. If you love baseball, I'll give you an alternative. Take $20,000, put it into the Mohegan Park ball field. They need their bleachers repaired. That's infinitely cheaper. So that's my statement, and I gave you a write-up.
Thank you, Sam. The citizen comment general is still open. Is there anyone, person else here who would like to address the city council today? Please. Yes.
Joanne Filbert, 10 Elm Avenue. I want to start by thanking Mr. Nash and Mr. Wilson for responding to my recent email concerning my questions after the second budget hearing. We could avoid these embarrassing and awkward moments if the rest of you would also respond. I mean, I voted for most of you. I would think that you could find the time to respond to my concerns. But for whatever reason, you don't, so I have to bring it up in public. The second thing on my mind is that as of Wednesday, May 19th, the pandemic is over. We can all relax. We can go back to life as normal. No mask, no social distancing. You bring your vaccination card, you can get a free drink. This is the most irresponsible action that I have ever seen. But having said that, I cannot wait for City Hall to be open on Wednesday. Because quite frankly, if it isn't, you're a bunch of hypocrites and self-serving individuals. If it's okay for my kid to go to school, for my daughter to teach, go to Billy Wilson's and have a drink, go to Target without a mask, then damn it, open up this building to the public. Every employee has had adequate time to get vaccinated or not get vaccinated, whatever your choice is. This is the people's building. We pay for it. We voted you in to represent us. Open the building, because if you don't, as I said, then not only myself, but a lot of other people will consider you as hypocrites. And the last thing I'm going to say is, I know a lot of you think that I'm a pain in the ass, but I still have quite a following in the community. You would be surprised at how many people call me and email me and say, thank you for having the ability and the guts, quite frankly, to get up and say what's on the minds of a lot of people, especially senior citizens. So as I say, I will look forward to Wednesday and being able to come into City Hall without being accosted by a policeman with a gun, and we can get back to business as usual. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir, please, Mr. Bowie.
Rodney Bowie, 62 Roosevelt Avenue. Marvin promised me that he was going to be here tonight, so did David Crabb. They didn't show up, so I figured I'd say something anyways. We've got to keep these education budgets lower. I don't care if you have to lay some people off or not. I don't care if you have to lay some people off. We've not done that. But if we don't want to chase business out of this town, let's do something. You can't keep raising the taxes on these places here and expect them to be incorporated by business. You've heard me speak in the past about how these things happen, how they're done, and the ability to save money. You can save money. Just look at the fine items one at a time, and that's how you come to the whole thing. We haven't received money from this fiasco we had with public utilities. Not that I know of, or it hasn't been told. I don't know if anybody has actually been in jail. But there was some money that's supposed to be coming there. There's all kinds of money that's supposed to come to the city, including people that are sending kids to school and they live in Preston, Colchester. They work here, they bring their kids to school here. Let's change a few things. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to the council, please, at this time during general citizen comment? Yeah, please.
Good evening, Heather Romansky, 297 Scotland Road, Chair of the Norwich Board of Education. Always a pleasure to stand in front of you. I was here a few weeks ago speaking in support of the budget, and I'm just going to remind everyone of a couple of things. There were significant staffing cuts last year because we worked in partnership with the city to work from not drawing on the city fund balance any longer. That was a request you made of us, and we worked to implement that. And I will reiterate what I did a few weeks ago. We are still at a point where we are on target to finish the fiscal year within our budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak under general citizen comment? Again, anyone like to speak under general citizen comment? Third time. Would anyone like to address the council under citizen general comment at this time? Seeing no one else, I thank everyone for their comments and sharing their concerns. I declare this closed.
Second reading in action. An ordinance amending section 8-74, 8-75, 8-77 of Article 4 of Chapter 8 of the Code of Ordinances pertaining to the Volunteer Firefighter Relief Fund plan for the City of Norwich, and it's to be postponed until June 21st, 2021.
Thank you. At this time, I entertain a motion as stated to postpone action on this ordinance until June 21. Motion made by Alderwoman Miles, second Alderwoman Gould. Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, please the roll call.
Alderman DeLuca?
Yes.
Alderman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson? Yes. Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt? Yes. Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
That's 7-0.
The motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Public hearing. An ordinance appropriating $600,000 for the demolition, planning, acquisition, and installation of improvements to the HVAC system at the John B. Stanton School, and authorizing the issuance of $600,000 bonds of the city to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowing for such purpose.
Thank you. I declare this public hearing open, and I would invite anyone like to speak in favor of this ordinance at this time. If you're speaking in favor of the ordinance, this is your opportunity. We have Heather Romansky, who has signed up. Go ahead, please.
Sorry.
Nope. It's okay.
Enthusiastic. Oh, like I can really read this without my glasses on. Am I kidding? I'm sorry. Yep. Heather Romansky, 297 Scotland Road, Chair, Norwich Board of Education. So good evening. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the funding for the Stanton HVAC improvement project. The hardware is at a critical phase. It desperately needs to be replaced. I don't use the word desperate to be dramatic. Many of you have seen the reports and know that that is the case. The critical element for this project is the timing. That's why it's so critical that we're this goes forward. The work needs to be done when the kids aren't in school. So that's what we're working up against. At this point, I'd also like to extend my thanks to the city manager, controller, and Bob Castronova from the purchasing office. They have worked really closely in partnership with our new business manager, Bob Serpinski, who couldn't be here tonight, and our facilities director. So we appreciate being included in the bidding process and that thing, that whole piece. And I also think it's important to point out that because of that collaboration, originally the bids for that project came in the millions. And we are now looking at a project that will produce an efficient solution for around the $600,000. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of this ordinance as proposed? Again, would anyone like to speak in favor of this ordinance as proposed? Third time. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this ordinance in favor of this expenditure? Seeing no one else, I would then at this time ask if there's anyone like to speak in opposition to this ordinance. Sir, mic is yours. Again, name and address, please.
Rodney Bowie, 62 Roosevelt Avenue. $600,000. I've worked on a lot of air conditioning systems, and quite frankly, it still sounds like a lot of damn money. A whole lot of money. $600,000? I'd like to actually take a look at what is going to go on, because I'm an ex-electrician by trade and very well versed in air conditioning and refrigeration. And this is way out of sight, way out of sight. We're not talking about, the way I understand, redoing a whole system or putting in a new one. $600,000? Give me a break.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Yes, please.
Joanne Philbrook, 10 Elm Avenue. Do you ever get tired of listening to us? Because we get tired of coming up here. I'm not in favor or against this per se, but I would like to ask the question, and hopefully this time someone will answer my questions. I would like to know how this fits into the plan for the whole new school projects. And I'd also like to know, because this is HVAC, it has to do with air quality, what money, if any, is coming from the federal government, and if not, why? Why isn't this covered under the American Rescue Plan or the CARES Act or whatever I thought Magna was a crock of baloney, but this is getting right up there too. I agree with Mr. Bowie. This is an incredible amount of money. It's money that you borrow, and it's money that has to be paid back with interest. When or ever are we going to have an agenda item that offers relief to the taxpayers instead of spending? If you add this $600,000 to the what? How much is the school budget now? $96 million? Do you have any idea how much money $96 million is when the greatest percentage of people in the city of Norwich earn under $49,900? That comes from your own city report. We can't take it anymore. We can't. The burden is too heavy. So perhaps someone could answer that question. Is there money available under COVID? Because obviously HVAC is an air quality issue. So please, somebody help me understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, is there anyone else like to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Second time. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to this ordinance at this time? Third time. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to this ordinance at this time? Seeing there is no one else, I then declare this public hearing closed. And thank you.
Second reading and action. An ordinance appropriating $600,000 for the demolition, planning, acquisition, and installation of improvements to the HVAC system at the John B. Santon School, and authorizing the issuance of $600,000 bonds for the city to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowing for such purpose.
Thank you. At this time, I have a motion, please, to put this on the floor before us. Alderman Wilson, is there a second? Alderwoman Miles. Is there discussion? I'm sorry. Pro Tem Mark Betancourt, please.
I'll take a shot with some of this, what Mrs. Philbrook asked about. But so it's in our discussions with the city manager, it's our intent that either through the city or the Board of Ed that recovery funds are pursued. Whether that happens or not can't be determined at this point. But right now, it's imperative because of the timing involved in the project that the authorization for funding, one way or the other, gets done now. So failing that, we're going to have a school that might not have a heating system come this fall. Now, that may not seem a big deal to you, but I think it would be to the kids and the parents that go to the school. So this particular project, I think, because I think we were talking at bids like $1.3 to $2 million in that neighborhood prior to this. And I think Ms. Romansky, she noted that the city people associated with the project did a very good job trying to come up with an alternative solution because that was kind of choking us. So those kind of numbers. So what they came up with a solution was mini boilers essentially and tied together that will produce enough BTUs to handle the load at Stanton School. Now, how that fits in with the school project is another matter. That's yet to be determined, to be honest with you. I can't answer that for sure. Stanton is on the list of schools to be renovated as new. It may be that we knew that this was a problem for a number of years now. Unfortunately, this project hasn't come to fruition, to where we can do any work at Stanton. So until that happens, this is the next best thing in order to keep the system running the way it is. So I'll be in support of this ordinance, this bonding ordinance, because I don't think we have a better choice at this point in time. And I expect, obviously, the city manager and other leaders to be pursuing appropriate funding as necessary, so maybe we don't actually have to bond the money.
Thank you. Is there further comment? Alderman Wilson?
Just kind of wanting to reiterate the points that Chairwoman Romansky made of collaboration. I think, knowing where we started and where we are with this, huge difference of a number. The most important piece I think that we have to realize here is it's kids' education at stake. We don't need to be in this position in the fall with a mass failure and then trying to figure out how to handle it for our students. So this is taking a proactive approach. I think reiterating kind of the point that Alderman Betancourt made, that the school facilities project is some time away. And, one of the things that the superintendent has made clear is capital improvement projects have not been something we have done a good job of taking on for our school system over the years. We've done some patchwork on roofs and different things, but this is a dire need because this affects the overall building. So I think they've come, we've worked together to get to this point, and for that, it's about supporting this so that our kids are put in the best position when they come back to school in the fall and they can continue to be educated at the best possible level that our teachers and staff are providing. So thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Alderman Nash.
Yeah, I just want to put my 2 cents in. I know I've sat up here a lot, and over the years have been called quite a few names by the school board and those that support it because I don't always toe the line. I taught the DARE program in the schools. I was in all the schools. The schools are amazing. Here's the problem we have. The pandemic has taught us something, and this is something the school's been talking about for a long time, and as a security officer in the Hartford Public Schools, I understand class size is a humongous issue, not just because of the COVID, but just because of control and of the students and safety of the students. There are schools, districts right now in the United States, on the East Coast actually, that are actually looking into abandoned storefronts to add classroom space because children have to be 3 to 4 feet away from each other because of the COVID, even after everyone gets inoculated. If everyone gets inoculated, that's their business, and the masking. So we have cities around our country that are looking at not abandoned schools, but closed parochial schools, closed business fronts, because they're trying to add space so that the children are more safe. So here we go, and if we don't spend this money, and we roll the dice and we toss the kids in Stanton, and all of a sudden the system fails, now we're scrambling to move how many hundreds of students to different schools to stick them in classrooms that we don't have enough room as it is. I mean, I remember a few years ago, our former fire marshal stood up here and said that the school classroom sizes were dangerous for the students in case of fire or other issues. So I'm going to be in favor of this. It's a lot of money, I get it, but it's the old saying: if you're not willing to invest in yourself, and I agree the school budget is really exorbitant, and it's something that we have to look at because it's kind of like a runaway train a little bit. But I do understand there's requirements and regulations and stuff. So I want to get this school year back open again, where kids go to school and sit next to their fellow peers and be children and learn that way instead of home on a computer screen, because I think they spend way too much time on them as it is. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Alderwoman Gould.
So I'll follow Alderman Nash and say that I'll throw my 2 cents in here too. I'm supporting this because I know that Stanton School needs this. I went to school there a million years ago. I think Rodney and I were in the same class. But Stanton School needs this. And how does it fit into the larger plan? That's why we're not spending $1.3 million. We're spending a lot less because the contractor understood that this school is on the master plan, if you want to call it, for right now, to be renovated. And to spend $1.3 million to do an HVAC system when we can spend $500,000 or $600,000 to do the HVAC system makes a lot more sense. And I know that the city manager, and I know that our comptroller, and I know that our superintendent will vigorously look for funds, either through whether it's the CARES Act, the American Relief Plan, to pay for this, because this is about the quality of the heating and air conditioning system in the school. So they should vigorously pursue using the money from those funds, which I understand, I know is coming out of our back left pocket, because the federal government and the state does not produce print money. It's our money is just coming through a different channel. But we've got to get it, like a Board of Education chair said, we have to get this on now and get it going now, so that we can do this project while the children are not in school, and don't disrupt them any further to take them out of school to do an HVAC system while school is in session. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? I'll simply say that I'm supporting this for all the reasons stated. I'll just add that these are modular in nature. They can have additional units added onto them in the future, which speaks to the issue of the plan for expanding Stanton School. And this timing is critical. We cannot risk another heat season with the units that are there right now. It just, for all the reasons stated before, so I will be supporting this. Thank you. No discussion. May we have a roll call, please?
Alderman DeLucia.
Yes.
Alderman Miles.
Yes.
Alderman Wilson. Alderwoman Gould.
Yes.
Alderman Nash.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt.
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom.
Yes.
That's 7-0.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
City Manager's report.
Thank you. This is the city manager's report for May 17th, 2021. City Hall will reopen to the public on Monday, March 24th.
May.
In a-
May.
Excuse me?
May 24th.
May 24th.
Did I say March?
Yes.
Yeah.
May
Done that before.
24th, thank you. In accordance with the governor's rules, which will come into effect on May 19th, 2021. I am still waiting for further clarification from the state on the requirements for public settings. The alert banner on the city's website will be updated as the information becomes available. Meetings attended via conference call or video were weekly government Lamont updates, state representative and legislators, Southeast Council of Governments, Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, Board of Directors meeting, NPU's city coordination meetings, Region 4 Emergency Support Plan, Department of Health COVID-19 updates, NCDC budget meeting and Director Search Committee, and American Rescue Plan guidance and pension obligation meetings. The city is due to receive approximately $10 million in the next few weeks from the federal government for the American Rescue Plan to respond to the COVID-19 emergency. Funding objectives include support of COVID-19 response efforts to continue to decrease spread of the virus, to bring the pandemic under control, replace lost public sector revenue to strengthen the support for vital public services and help retain jobs, support immediate economic stabilization for households and businesses, and address systemic public health and economic challenges that have contributed to the unequal impact of the pandemic. I will be reviewing the guidelines and forming a committee to make recommendations on how to use the funding to present to council for review and approval. The Public Works Department has started the replacement of sidewalks on the east side of Boswell Avenue from Oak Street to Roth Street. The $200,000 project is funded with CDBG funds and should be completed by the middle of June. Uncas Health has a clinic scheduled for May 20th at the Senior Center. The two-day mobile clinic held at St. Mary's Church on May 5th and 6th vaccinated 165 individuals. Thank you again to UConn Health, FEMA, and the Connecticut Department of Health for providing this clinic in our town and to St. Mary's Church. Thank you to SEAT, who along with the State Department of Health, DEMAS, and Griffin Hospital for their mobile unit for holding vaccination clinics at the Norwich Transportation Center on Wednesdays and Thursdays during the month of May. To date, 50 individuals have been vaccinated. The mobile clinic is a creative way to reach people who have difficulties getting to other sites due to work schedules, lack of transportation, and other barriers. The city manager's office is accepting applications from the Norwich organizations for the Community Neighborhood Assistance Act. My assistant, Jackie Barbarossa, has received 7 applications to date and will continue to receive them until June 1st, with the public hearing scheduled for June 21st. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, John. Are there questions of the city manager? Alderman DeLucia, please.
Thank you. In the first paragraph, waiting for further clarification from the state on the requirements for public meetings.
Yes. Depending on what the governor's executive order continues, whether we have hybrid meetings or have to go back to strictly live meetings has to be determined by the governor. We're still waiting to see what the executive order would be on the 20th to determine whether public meetings go back to pre-pandemic levels or some hybrid continuing. We don't know that yet.
Second question, in the second paragraph, the meetings that you attended, one of them was American Rescue Plan Guidance and Pension Obligation Meeting. Those were separate meetings?
I couldn't hear everything.
Oh,
you
I'm
said.
sorry.
Joe, can you speak into the mic a little more closer, please?
So in the second paragraph,
Yes.
at the end, it says that meetings that you attended were American Rescue Plan Guidance and Pension Obligation Meeting. Those were two separate meetings?
Separate meetings, yes.
So the American Rescue Plan Guidance, I know we talked about this maybe a little bit too far into the weeds at public safety, as you recall, but we talked about that guidance coming from a committee of stakeholders that would take input from us, from the community, and with ideas on how we could best benefit the community with this money from the federal government. Is this American Rescue Plan Guidance meeting that you attended, is that the beginnings of that kind of a working group, or was it something else?
No, it was information from different agencies to try to ascertain what the 150-page Treasury recommendation is on what's applicable to be allocated out of the monies granted the city or not. As I repeated before, I believe that even though it's 151 pages, it's still, it doesn't give us as clear a direction on all the expenditures that may be used. And I'm not comfortable making recommendations to a group until I can safely categorize what is applicable for each category. There are some that are very obvious in the area of health and coronavirus prevention, things like that. But there are others that are related to capital projects, infrastructure, that are a little more vague. Also, definitions of what a revenue loss has to be interpreted. What fiscal year? What's the percentage? Can you do utility funding? There were nuances within that need to be clarified.
So then this working group that will, flesh out different ideas is then at some point down the road. Then is what
Yes.
you're saying. Okay. All right. Last thing on that, will the disbursement of those funds be managed by your office and by City Hall, or will that be handed off to a third party to manage for us?
It could be two levels. If we're allowed to grant funds to other agencies besides the city. So if, let's say we make a grant available to X nonprofit, we would make the lump sum grant to them to execute whatever program they've been granted to do. At that point, they would be expending whatever money we gave them. So we would do it at the point of the aggregate amount, and then the non-for-profit would distribute the money on a programmatic basis. That's if we do share money with some of the nonprofits.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Other questions of the city manager? Alderman Wilson, please.
Thank you. So kind of going back to the 24th, so I see May 24th kind of reopening. I know Alderman DeLucia talked about meetings. So far with what you've planned, what are some of the changes or some of the things that you plan to keep in place here in City Hall as we reopen?
Well, we haven't finally determined if we're going to have any mask requirements. I've decided that it will be difficult to ask citizens if they've been inoculated or not. So we're going to have to leave it to the honesty of the citizen coming in whether they should be wearing a mask or not. So there's a possibility that people will enter the building that should be wearing a mask that are not. In that case, I don't know also of every individual in city government that has been inoculated, and at this point have not required city personnel to receive the inoculations. So it's possible that we'll have city employees interfacing with individuals that might or might not have potential carriers. So on interfacing with the citizens, I may have optional mask wearing by city employees to individual citizens. We have to kind of work that out a little bit still. So we might still have a point of entry on that. If we were to require masks by all city employees, I think that would be overkill. There are certain areas that don't meet with the public so much that wouldn't necessarily need masks. So we'll be doing that. But generally, the building will be open with no appointments. You can come in like you used to come in. The city clerk may be using appointments. I don't know if you're going to still use appointments. That worked out very well for the city clerk because they're able to manage how many people come into the office during the day, and it makes it a safer environment and a little, I think, more efficient for the city clerk to know in advance what's going to happen with that. But generally, other departments like tax collection, assessor, and whatnot won't have appointments. So you'll be able to feel free to come in and do your business. So as far as the meetings, we're still waiting for the governor's executive order. If the governor's executive order on meetings is not renewed, then we would go back to having public meetings in all circumstances for boards and commissions and the council, rather than a hybrid situation where you could have a public meeting plus do an online conferencing, Zoom or whatever. If it's not renewed, then that's what would occur. We would not have hybrid. We would just have the way it was prior to the pandemic. But we don't know that yet. If he renews the optional hybrid, then we would probably discuss this with boards and commissions about what form they want to use for their future meetings. I will tell you that some of the meetings on teleconferencing and Zoom are very efficient and easier to do than to convene a meeting for a 15-minute session. You travel a half an hour to get a 15-minute meeting and things. So there might be opportunities in the future for having teleconference meetings, hybrid situation. So we need to see what's going to happen with that.
Okay, and then the real reason, I asked this question is, of course, I had a chance today to kind of listen to part of his daily conference, and I know there are certain areas that they are still leaving the mask requirement or, the decision up to specific agencies, and I know government buildings were some of those. So just, I know as we continue to plan forward, I'm one of those that's still very cautious as, this is our first spring out. Numbers are looking better, but for me, it's just still being cautious of all of our residents and employees. The other reason, I asked this question is, and this is more so for your office to research, there are, of course, towns that are talking of keeping things in place even though the governor may decide to change things or allow for things to be lax. So just knowing what our limitations or boundary levels are is important as we move forward. I think there are some good things that have come out of the pandemic. And I want to know kind of, as we still move forward, what things are able to still be in place and is it what we can plan to do. So I would love for you to continue to keep us up to date on that. And the other piece is that we move closer to the 24th, really putting a push on advertising to individuals what the changes are, so we have no miscommunications, but individuals know what's open and what it's like moving forward in the City Hall.
Yeah, and that's the reason I didn't change anything on May 20th, because I want to be able to react to the governor's executive orders and have a few days to adjust to that, to those executive orders. That's why it seemed to be clearer to have it in the start of the next week. Give ourselves a few days to make the adjustments that are necessary.
Excellent. And the only other thing that I want to say is, reading the report, I want to continue to thank all the agencies and individuals that are putting on the clinics for vaccinations. I know Chairwoman Romansky is not here right now, but kudos to the superintendent and her staff for putting on 2 big clinics today for our middle school students to have the option to get vaccinated. A great deal of students took advantage of that opportunity, and I know a lot, even my students over the weekend took advantage of getting the shot. So, I continue to tell individuals to do their research, be safe. We're not out of the woods yet, but we need to do our part to continue to make sure that we can have a prosperous spring and summer. So I continue to tell residents and individuals to do their part, and we continue to inform them of all of the information out here. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Further discussion? I'll be very quick. I have some things to share quickly. One, I was at Kelly today, and there were many, many young students who were very enthusiastic, and they were participating in great numbers. The same thing is scheduled for tomorrow at teachers. I want to remind the public that the food distributions continue at 28 Stonington Road, and that next week, working with Uncas Health, there'll be a Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccine clinic taking place at the same time as the food is distributed. There are no questions asked. If you need food, if you have food insecurity, everyone is welcome. I want to emphasize that. We served about 656 families today, but we can serve up to 1,200 families every week at that site. So if food security is an issue, you are most welcome. So again, Uncas Health is running a Moderna and Johnson & Johnson clinic there next Monday. And also, May 26th is the third food distribution at the Senior Center in memory of Jason Vincent. There will also be one on June 23rd. Enough funds were donated to United Way in his memory to cover for four food distributions in his memory. So I don't want that lost. Anyone who wants to volunteer to help us on May 26th, volunteers arrive at 3:30. Food is started to hand out at 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Citizen comment on resolutions.
Thank you. I declare citizen comment on the resolutions on the agenda to be open, and would invite anyone who'd like to speak to any of the 4 resolutions at this time. Please.
Joanne Filbert, 10 Elm Avenue. I wanted to start by saying that it's unfortunate when resolutions are added to the agenda at the last minute, because that doesn't give the public, those of us that are concerned or want to be knowledgeable, doesn't give us a chance to do our research. I find it bewildering that you talk the juxtaposition of touting free food drives, obviously because there's a need. But the other part of that is you're continually raising taxes. Someone like myself, Mark, do you remember years ago when I stood before this council and I said, when I'm sitting in a cold, dark house eating cat food, do you remember that?
Yes,
not
very well, yes.
It's not funny. It's the new reality. I don't know how many of you have parents or grandparents that are still alive, that are struggling. There are people that live on fixed incomes that may have a very small nest egg that precludes them from being able to participate in, I don't know, rent subsidies, healthcare subsidies, utility subsidies. They have to use what's left of their hard-earned money in order to exist in this city. The balance is skewed. It's skewed. Please, you are adding, now we have a budget with a ridiculous mill rate proposed. I remember again standing in these chambers when some of you said, and I used to be friends with some of you, I used to sit up there, and you shared with me different things, and then all of a sudden, it was like I was dirt. You don't answer my emails, you don't talk to me, whatever. I'm a big girl. It hurts my feelings. Every day, it hurts my feelings. But I have been coming to these meetings for 17 years. And now the mill rate is almost 50. I can no longer afford to live here. I'm going to have to sell my house. I don't know where I'm going to go. So pass your exorbitant budgets. Give people $100,000, $150,000 salaries. And the poor will be fine because they have all the benefits of what the disenfranchised get. The rich won't have to worry because they have the resources. It's the people in between, the senior citizens, the young families. We can't do it anymore. We can't. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to the resolutions on the agenda, please? Yes, sir.
Thank you for letting me speak again. I admit that I'm speaking on the same issue. Samuel Pierce Browning, 671 Scotland Road. I'm speaking twice on the same issue, but this is a deal with multi-million-dollar implications if you consider the cost of the stadium involved. One of the issues you're going to face, and I didn't realize this until I read the contract in detail after we had given the city manager permission to negotiate the details, was there was a fair amount of cost shifting previously done. For example, at one point, the team was responsible for weatherizing the park, which cost several thousands of dollars. In the last contract, the city of Norwich agreed to pay for it. So while there's a resolution up there which summarizes some of the key points of the deal, the fine print in the resolution, one of the big drivers will be how much more responsibilities is the city of Norwich taking to maintain that park. Given that I found out that the rent that this team is going to be making an effort to pay back $90,000 in which it owes to us based on the resolution. I don't know how much money they're going to have available. So I think that it would behoove you to ask Josh to summarize the key points of the deals and what and if various responsibilities have been shifted to the city of Norwich to maintain the ballpark, and also additionally, where it does a rabbit hole end. In other words, if they're paying X amount, like the first 30 or 50,000 on an obligation, what is the projection for how much that total obligation is going to be? You don't, because we need to, the citizens of Norwich need to know how much this is going to cost over the next 2 to 3 years if you approve it. Now, I'm against approving it, but how will you know if you have succeeded or failed if you do not have a bottom line number to say this is how much we think it's going to cost, and then 2 years from now, if you don't have that in public, everyone will have a different idea of what they thought was success or failure. So I would ask that you at least brief the issue if you're going to vote on it tonight, which it sounds like you are. And my overall recommendation is, and I talked to Joanne Philbrook before the meeting, is for what it's worth, two former city councilors think that you should get out of the stadium business. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak on the, yes, please.
Sheila Hayes, 382 Laurel Hill Avenue. I will say I do agree with Mrs. Philbrook on the issue that when you add an item on the agenda and you accept for the citizens to comment, it's difficult when we don't have the resolution in front of us. But I got up to speak to say, I remember the discussion around the lease and that that part of it was the city was trying to get out in front of what Major League Baseball might anticipate doing in signing the 10-year lease. I am concerned that based on what I've read in the newspaper, and so I'm just clarifying my information, is that this is a league of future prospective baseball players, and as much as, you know, they probably should be afforded an opportunity to show their skills, but again, I caution to what extent is the cost to the city for us to be able to do that versus looking at is there a way to rent the stadium out to some other type of sports league. It may not be baseball, but that could play in a baseball stadium. So I'm just asking you to explore options that may not have been explored when the lease was signed, and be cautious about what we're being committed to now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on the resolutions on the agenda, please? Anyone else like to speak to the resolutions on the agenda? Third final time. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the resolutions on the agenda at this time? Seeing no one else, I then declare citizen comment to be closed, and thank you all.
Resolution number 1, relative to an amendment to the 2021-22 budget to adjust revenue estimates.
A motion, please, to bring this forward. Alderman Wilson, second Alderwoman Miles. Is there discussion? Yes, please.
Just to thank the city manager and the controller, Josh Pothier, for getting this stuff up to us. Obviously, a significant amount of the funds here are anticipated pilot funds from the state budget. Of course, we're thankful for that. It'll certainly make our job up here easier. But there's a significant impact to the mill rate, fortunately, and I'd just like to, again, thank them for getting that done.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Alderwoman Stacey Gould.
I just wanted to ask the city manager if these are we believe these are the final numbers, or is it possible these may change in the next few weeks?
It's possible that the payment in lieu of taxes could change. Every indication is that the new Tier 3 funding will take place. I've had detailed discussions with our local legislators on it. But until it's finalized, there's always a chance for a change. I felt it was important to put it out there now so the council would see what the options would be if it was to stay in place, which I think it will. If I were to add it at the end of the budget process, it wouldn't give you time to determine how you might want to use the additional funding. So putting it up front now gives gives the council a few weeks to take a look at it. So it could change, but I'm hopeful that it won't change.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further questions? Just briefly, my understanding is the legislation itself was signed for the three-tier pilot. The question is, will the money be in place?
Right.
Sometimes the money's not part of the legislation, and that's the case now. So we all need to stay tuned to see how that is finalized.
That's correct.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Could we have a roll call, please?
Alderman DeLucia.
Yes.
Alderman Miles.
Yes.
Alderman Wilson.
Yes.
Alderman Gould.
Yes.
Alderman Nash.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt.
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom.
Yes.
That's 7-0.
Motion passes 7-0.
Number 2, relative to an amendment to the 21-22 budget to reduce expenditures.
Motion, please, to bring this forward. Alderman Stacey Gould, Alderman Ella Miles. Is there discussion? Alderman Nash.
I just have a quick question. I appreciate you finding some extra money here. I hope that the police and fire can handle the small cuts, but the question I have is the Public Works street supplies. That's $10,000. That's a lot of money for, I'm assuming, supplies. What is the supplies that they're not going to get?
It's under yeah. I want to make sure. Supplies is a very broad description. It includes all the salt that's distributed. It's a $400,000 line item. So
Okay.
the 10,000 sounds like a lot, but in comparison to the whole line item of 400,000, it's a small amount.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman DeLucia.
Yes.
Alderman Wilson.
Yes.
Alderwoman Miles.
Yes.
Alderman Gould.
Yes.
Alderman Nash.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt.
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom.
Yes.
That's 7-0.
Motion passes 7-0.
Number 3, relative to an amendment to the 2021-22 budget to add an assistant zoning and blight enforcement official effective October 1st, 2021.
Motion, please, to bring this forward. Alderman Wilson, second. Alderman Gould. Is there discussion? Alderman Gould.
I just want to ask, is this a full-time position for $65,047?
Yes, it's made up of the 45,000 for salary and 19 for fringe. Yes, it is a full-time position.
Okay, because I'm looking on page 67 in the budget book, where we discuss, or where it's listed, the assistant zoning enforcement officer, blight enforcement officer salary is $60,530. And I just wanted to know what the, I mean, it's a small amount, but
We plan on hiring it after the July 1st. So there's
Delayed.
a savings of money because we don't plan on hiring it on July 1st. So we can reduce the first year amount.
okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Yes, Alderman DeLucia.
So I asked for this to be added into this year's budget for a number of different reasons. First, you know, we hear a lot from the community about blight enforcement, and we hear through the grapevine a lot about zoning issues that happen in the city, and quite frankly, the Planning and Neighborhood Services Department just doesn't have enough hands on deck to address some of the issues in either a timely manner or in a complete manner. It's just not enough hours in the day to provide the service that the community deserves. But more importantly, I feel that adding this person takes some of the load off of the department in general. And this is a department that I don't know, best can be said is that grows our grand list. You know? So having a one additional person in here that speeds, that would allow for speeding up of the permit process, speeding up of the inspection process, speeding up of responses to the community, and dealing with homeowners that have questions about improving their properties. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I know that we added essentially 2.5 positions to help us out in the clerk's office and in the tax collector's office, and there was compelling argument and compelling debate of why those were justified. I just couldn't see my way clear to say that those were justified, and the department that grows our grand list was not justified in the help that literally the director has been asking for the 3 years that I've been sitting up here. So I ask my colleagues to support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Nash.
I'm going to jump on Alderman DeLucia's comments. We did have a lively discussion last council when we added a couple positions, and I'm one of those guys that sit up here and want to save the taxpayers and stop adding money, stop adding to the tax burden. But I will have to agree that behind the argument from my constituents regarding school budget, Blight seems to be the number 2 issue that I get from the people that call me and talk to me. I get a lot of emails, not a lot, I get a few emails, and we all get the same from the same gentleman all the time, but there's others that complain about, the yard or this or that in zoning. So, and this is a position that, like Alderman DeLucia said, can pay for itself eventually by going out and enforcing the zoning, enforcing the blight and stuff like that. And it is something that we need. We get a lot of people complain about Norwich, and so I would be supporting this, even though it adds to the budget, $65,000. But I think it's something that in the course of a few years will easily compensate itself. If we get a good person in there going out and enforcing the law, and we stick behind that person and help them get through there. So as much as I hate adding another item to the budget, this is something I think is needed and will benefit the city in the long run. So I hope my constituents will be happy.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson, please.
So I will echo the 2 sentiments of Alderman DeLucia and Alderman Nash. This is a position, of course, that will pay for itself. I think we're seeing a boom in houses and whatnot being purchased and renovated at this point. Our department head came in and explained, that they are strapped as far as getting the work done. And I think, when we look at this is an efficiency thing that can help us in many areas. I think taking the approach even of the post-hiring of 10-1, it is being understanding of what we're going through, and the last piece I'll say is, we're adding a position, yes, and I think this one is a compelling one that was necessary. We've heard it for several years. That both budget years that I've sat up here, we've had this discussion of what this individual will mean to this department. But the other part is we're far from done with the budget. So, this is just another piece of the puzzle as we build the budget that we are going to have to live with. But I think, as Alderman DeLucia said, you sit up here and we're talking about a department that grows our grand list, but also a department that helps with the beautification of our city by going out and enforcing blight is important. So having additional hands that can help remedy some of those issues, but also speed up some of the other processes and interact and get some of the smaller things done for our residents and taxpayers is important. So I definitely will be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Yes, sir. Pro Tem, please.
I'll be supporting this also, not to belabor this too much, but this is a department that, makes money for the city essentially. I think down the road, as we look to, grow the grand list, to make improvements in the city, dealing with blight and zoning issues is going to be, at the forefront. It really has, and it's been honestly, I think, somewhat neglected just from a lack of resources. So as we go along, I don't doubt that we'll be looking at this issue again, even to broaden the amount of staff that are in that department, because I think we're looking at projects down the road that are going to tax the staff that the department is approved to have, never mind the numbers they actually have right now, which are short. So I'll be supporting this, and it looks like most everyone else will too. So I hope that person gets, I wish they, personally, I'd almost rather them start as soon as possible, but I can live with the 10-1 start of the position, but I certainly hope that, one of the tasks we really should be looking at is the improvement in the neighborhoods, and that's what I really think this position should be dedicated to. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? I will be supporting this. Personally, I'm aware of a number of zoning issues that are rising in the city of Norwich, and we need more resources there. That's very clear, with only one person there dealing with it right now. And that's it. Thank you. Could we have a roll call, please?
Alderman DeLucia?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
That's 7-0.
Motion passes 7-0. Excuse me, at this time, I would ask for a motion for executive session.
I hereby move pursuant to Connecticut General Statute Section 1-200, subsection 6, that the members of the Norwich City Council go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the acquisition or disposition of real estate or interest in real estate when publicly regarding the site and the acquisition or disposition of interest in the same would adversely impact the price of the same, to review preliminary drafts of proposals pertaining to the use of the properties, the City Council having determined that the public interest in withholding such clearly outweighs the public interest in disclosure at this time, and to review commercial or financial information given in confidence not required by statute. City Manager John Salamone, Finance Director Josh Pothier, Corporation Counsel Michael Driscoll, and Mr. Henry Resnikoff shall be asked to participate during all or a portion of this executive session at the request of the City Council.
Motion made by Alderwoman Gould. Is there a second for executive session? Alderwoman Ella Miles, second. Roll call, please.
Alderman DeLucia?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
That's 7-0.
Council, come back to order, please. Let the record show that no votes were taken during the executive session.
Do we need a motion?
Need a motion?
Motion to come out of executive
Yep.
session with that note?
So moved.
Motion by Alderwoman Ella Miles, second. Alderwoman Gould to return. Again, let no votes were taken. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, just go down the line.
Yes.
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 We.
Okay, we're back from executive session. Next on the agenda is Resolution 4. I'm thinking of the title because Betsy didn't share it. This is the resolution in regards to a stadium lease with the operators of a... Yes, it's an amendment to the prior lease that we had with the Anietta Athletic Corporation. And that's what the resolution is about. May I have a motion, please, to bring this resolution to the floor? Alderwoman Miles, second by Alderwoman Gould. Is there discussion on the resolution? President Pro Tem Mark Betancourt.
I'm of two minds on this. So the fact of the matter is, as a business model, I don't think this has a lot of potential. It's going to cost the city additional funds, I believe, over the course of the next several years to operate the venue. The flip side of that is that we would lose out on past rental revenue if there's no team there, or any future revenue. And we would have to pay to mothball the stadium and/or eventually tear it down. So this option is, I kind of look at this one as the lesser of two evils, I guess. As long as we minimize our exposure, I suppose we could do it, but I am not jumping up and down over this. So with that, though, said, I would like to lessen our exposure a little bit. I'm going to ask council, though, and we were flipping around some language here. Would it be better, what I mentioned, the mutual part, what would be the best way you think, to cover that?
Well, I think the language of the resolution is that we're leasing it to them for 2 years. The underlying lease is going to be amended to make it a 2-year lease. And they have a 1-year option. I think that the intention is that they have an additional year mutual consent. In fact, if the council approves it, it's a 3-year lease. If they don't, it's a 2-year lease. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, well, I would like, the lease should be, the 3rd year should be by mutual agreement. That's my... All right, well, yeah, okay. Well, you know, like I said, I had the draft language written already, so I'll just go with that at least, just so to alleviate any issues. So after, let's see, on the 5th line, after lessee, we'll go comma, with the approval of the lessor, another comma. And that would be my amendment.
Is there a second?
A second.
Alderwoman Gould.
So on that, on the amendment, if you would, Mayor, if that's okay.
Certainly.
The idea being that I really want the city to have the most flexibility possible with the property. Should the operation be successful, and I do hope it is, then certainly, you know, we would agree to a 3rd year and maybe talk about an extension. But failing that, I think we should allow ourselves the most opportunity we can as far as you know, moving on to the next step as far as that property is concerned. If it wasn't for issues like the back rent and those, and the situation with, you know, doing something with the stadium, I don't think I'd be going with this, but those are obvious considerations. So if the amendment passes, I'll support this. If the amendment doesn't, I will vote to reject. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion on the amendment? Roll call, please.
Yes?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 On the resolution as amended, is there further discussion? Alderman DeLucia.
Well, I would just like to say that, you know, I've heard the testimony or the public comment, I should say, at the podium, and the documents that we received, and I appreciate the amount of work that went into this, and is informative, and obviously some research, some depth of research, I should say, was done. I personally believe that baseball in the city of Norwich is winding down, at least at Dodd Stadium. And I'm a baseball fan, and I know that we have strong connections to the sport, but you know, for reasons that really don't have anything to do with the effort that's been put in by multiple parties. So we just, you know, we've had some bad breaks, and you know, the viability of supporting this is coming to an end, I believe. But I think that at this point, this Futures League is the best option that we have in front of us, short of just closing the stadium and mothballing it, which is not something I would like to see done at this 11th hour. So I think we see what happens over the next couple of years. We don't know what the future holds, but I think that over the long term, we'll be looking at other options in the not too distant future. Thank you.
Thank you. Is further comment on the resolution as amended? Alderman Wilson.
I echo the sentiments of Alderman DeLucia. I also think, you know, the big piece here is, you know, part of this gives us an opportunity for something still to be done with the stadium. But also it's our due diligence as council members and staff of City Hall to continue to look at options, you know. So we will, of course, be able to weigh how successful this is in no time. But also, you know, we've got to weigh what that looks like down the road towards taxpayers and ourselves as city residents. So I think, you know, continuing to have an open mind and open options is going to be important down the road.
Alderman Nash, please.
I'll throw my 2 cents in. There's not a bigger sports fan sitting up here than I am. I'll challenge anyone on that. But I will say this. We have people in our community that want tennis courts. We have bleachers that need to be replaced. We have a school budget that's short. We have police department and fire department that needs items. We have taxpayers claiming to sit in the dark and eat cat food. I can't see us throwing money at the baseball stadium. I'm sorry. It was supposed to be a business that made money. I mean, I owned a restaurant, and there was months I was short. Should I have come to the city and asked for cash to stay in business? Listen, I understand about, you know, feed them cake and let them see games. I get it. People need entertainment. People need to see things. But we have flag football leagues. We have softball leagues. We have high school sports. We have all kinds of activities going on in our city, and it's not costing us $90,000 or $100,000 or $30,000. It's not costing us anything. I'm for my feeling right now is rip the scab off and let it hurt for a little bit and move on. So I'm not going to support this. Sorry.
Thank you. Alderwoman Gould.
Well, so I'm going to take a little sentimental journey. 1996, 1997, and 1998. Wally Sapansky, Tony Orsini, and my mother, my late mother, were number 1 and number 2 and number 3 fans. Each year they jockeyed for the title of being the number 1 fan at Dodd Stadium. My mother sat in the rain to watch a baseball game. That's how much my mother loved baseball. And what happened to Dodd Stadium and the waning interest in going, I'm not exactly sure what drove it. But when Major League Baseball pulled the rug out from underneath the sea unicorns, that was not our fault, not their fault. it happened. And shame on Major League Baseball for doing that to our community. But to go right now and lock up Dodd Stadium and close it up, I think is unfair. I think it is incumbent upon us to support this amendment to the lease. It's for 2 years. I think people, now that restrictions are being lifted, they're going to want to get out and go to a baseball game. And I understand it's a futures league, it's college players, but there could be the next David Ortiz, Dice K, Carl Yastrzemski, I'm dating myself now, Dwight Gooden. The next guy could be there who will be the next star 5 years from now, 2 years from now. So I think we have an obligation to see what's going to happen before we look at the option of mothballing the stadium, but we can at the same time still look at, well, if this doesn't work out, this could be the plan B that we go to. But I think we have to encourage the people who live in Norwich to go to Dodd Stadium to see this game. And to say to them, listen, it's right here in our backyard. You don't have to travel very far. So I'm going to support this resolution. I understand, sometimes we have to spend the money, but it's going to cost money to mothball it. It'll cost money to take it down. And right now, we don't have anybody else knocking on the door to do anything else with Dodd Stadium. So I think we should be supporting this. We should be encouraging people to go to the games. And at the same time, keeping in mind that, there may be something else that we have to do with this piece of property down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. The further discussion? Yes, please, Alderwoman Miles.
Yeah, just a comment, and my sentiments echo that of Alderwoman Gould. Give it an opportunity, give it a chance for our citizens and our residents, now that restrictions are being lifted, to get out, do a family event. It is for 2 years. If it's not successful, we can look at doing something else. But I would say it's keeping the stadium viable for a little bit longer until something else comes up. It gives our citizens and our residents something to do over the summer, enjoy some fireworks, take in a game, make a family Friday night out of it. I will be supporting this. I think this is something that it's good for our community. It's just something good for the summer. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Oh, 2 bites at the apple.
No,
Go for it.
I didn't talk on the motion.
I'm not kidding. Go ahead.
I made the motion for
President
the
Pro
amendment.
Tem Mark Bettencourt.
I was counting. As far as the resolution, like I said, I'm a little ambivalent about the whole thing because I just don't think we're in any kind of a win scenario here. So, but Alderman Nash, I would tend to agree with you, but I just, at this point, at this late hour, I just don't see a real good option. I don't want to incur additional expenses on the property. Give the person that is there, that has been leasing the property, an opportunity to do something. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But I think with the 2-year commitment, I can live with it, I guess, for the moment. So, thank you.
Thank you. I will support this. I'm not happy with all the details. But again, we're here because of the greed of the major league owners. Let's be very blunt and honest. That's why we and 39 other communities lost their major league affiliates. I think Commissioner Manfred is doing everything he can to harm the sport of baseball nationally. And that's my personal opinion of them. But I do know there are young families that look forward to this. I know that the Little League has opening day up there. I know that the high school teams utilize that facility as well. And it may still have some life going down the road. That remains to be seen. But this is an opportunity to keep the gates open, avoid those mothballing costs that others have spoken of. But make no mistake about it, there are costs to maintain this even in the next 2 years. They are not going away. So that's my 2 cents. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Motion passes 6-1.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Gould, second by Nash. Roll call. Motion to adjourn, please.
Yes.
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 We are adjourned.
We are